Hey everybody, Dr. Cummings here from Point Loma. I want to walk you through your syllabus for BIO2020 Microbiology of Infectious Diseases. The lecture portion is 3 units, the lab is 1 unit. We're actually going to create a separate syllabus for the lab just to kind of explain how that's going to be done under these unusual social distancing times here this fall. So right now we're just going to be talking about the lecture. Okay, so our official meeting days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12:15 to 1:10. The way we'll actually use these is on Mondays at 12:15, I'll launch Zoom and I'll be available to you as office hours. But it will not be required except for the first Sunday, Monday, August 17th. You need to be there. That's going to be required. I'm going to take attendance, and I want to make sure we get all the information out that needs to get out on that very first day. After the 17th, then every Monday I'll hold it office hours during that window. But it'll be totally optional for you. Your final exam, make a note of this, is Monday of finals week, so that's November 30th at 10:30. We'll give you more information on that. But it will be during your actual final exam window, 10:30 a.m. So don't schedule anything else during that time. Have that blocked off to take your final exam for this class. Here's my email address, so I think most of you have that. Here's the group office hours I just talked about. I sent you calendar invites for the links, but those links are also found in Canvas. And then one-on-one office hours. Let's say that in a group setting your questions didn't get answered, or we have something that you want to talk about, just the two of us. You can click here to see my available time slots, find one that works for you, and sign up for that, and it'll send me a message. The one thing I ask you to do, though, is try to do that at least 24 hours in advance if you can. Because what I do is the night before, I will take a look and see who has signed up, and I'll plan my schedule accordingly. And if you don't sign up till an hour ahead of time, I can't promise that that window is going to remain open for you. So please try to get that in earlier if you can. You've got our mission. I want to read the course description because it is really important. A study of microbial physiology. So it's the way that microbes survive. The diseases associated with infections by certain pathogenic microbes, particularly bacteria, and the vertebrate human response to microbial infections. Doesn't apply to the bio major. You shouldn't be taking it if you're a bio major. There's a lecture and there's a lab associated with it. We offer it all the time. You have to have had some chemistry and some anatomy and physiology, at least one semester, and be concurrently in the second semester. Learning outcomes. What this means is when the whole semester is over, what do we want you to take away? I want you to be able to describe the physical nature, the actual physical structure and architecture of bacteria and viruses and their life cycles. How do they reproduce, and how do more of them get generated? You need to be able to distinguish bacteria from viruses and the diseases they cause. And we're going to look at some specific groups of bacteria, the enteric bacteria, the gram-positive rods, and the gram-positive cocci. In much more depth, we'll look at those groups. Evaluate different antibiotics for application, and we're also going to look at antibiotic resistance in great detail. That's where that Sanford guide is going to come into play. And then carry out and interpret fundamental microbiology lab procedures. You're going to get to watch videos on how they get done. Very few of them will you actually get to do, but you'll also then learn how to interpret those procedures. All right, so what's required? This Bowman textbook with an access code, whether you buy it as an e-text that already comes with Mastering Micro or as a hard copy and then purchase the access code separately. Either way is fine with me. Follow Your Gut by Rob Knight, the Sanford Guide. The ordering instructions are on Canvas. You'll need that by, I believe it's, I want to say the 1st of October, I've forgotten now. It's an app. You can download to your laptop, to your tablet, to your smartphone, or all three. And there was a link that I had sent out to you guys that gives you a 40% discount on that. It's normally $30 for a year subscription, so you can get it for $18, $12 off. So make sure you use that as well. Credit hour information, just so you know where all the hours are coming from. Okay, 850 total points. 700 will come from lecture. The rest will come from the lab activities. There's going to be 4 exams worth 125 points each, including the final. The final is just another exam worth 125 points each. Exams 2 and 3 are semi-cumulative, meaning about 20% of the points will come from questions of older material, and the other 80% will be the newest material. When we get to the final, though, the final is all cumulative. Okay, so you've really got to make sure you retain this information so that when the final exam rolls around, you're just reviewing, you're not learning it all over again or learning it for the first time. Homework, there's going to be a set of homework problems set up through Mastering Microbiology. That's why you have to buy that access code. In the end, they all add up to 100 points. They're not exactly 10 points each, depends on how many questions we chose for each one, etc. But we worked hard to get that all in place. And there's a set of study tools called dynamic learning modules that are associated with each of these chapters. If you get them done prior to the exam as a study tool, we're going to give you a couple extra points, right? 2.5 points of extra credit for each chapter of dynamic learning modules that you've worked through. We just want to encourage you to use them so that you can learn this material that can be so difficult at times, right? So if you've got 2 chapters for an exam, you can get up to 5 extra points by doing those dynamic learning modules associated with it. And those should be linked for you in Canvas, in the modules in Canvas where everything else is linked. There's a chem review quiz. We talked about that in the Canvas video. It's worth 10 points. You want to review your chemistry from Chem 103 or 152 and then take that quiz during the first week. We're going to have some case studies. It's a really fun way to take what you learn in micro about these microorganisms and the ways they cause disease and the way our immune system can fight them and the antibiotics we use and the resistance they can come back at us with. And we're going to apply them to some real-life case studies. And we'll do that at 3 different times throughout the semester. We've got a urinary tract infection, a respiratory tract infection, and a gastrointestinal tract infection that you're going to work through. They're very interesting, and I think you'll enjoy those. There'll be a variety of activities scattered throughout that'll add up to 60 points. That's going to be like showing up for class, participating in discussions. We may have some group learning activities we throw in there, a whole variety of things. So just make sure that as we're going along, as we create opportunities for you to study and be involved, that you are choosing to be involved. Your lab, like I said, there'll be a separate lab syllabus, and we'll talk about that there. So here's your grading scale. Probably the only thing I'll point out is that the final percentage is rounded to the nearest whole number. So if you get a 90.5, we round it up to a 91. If you get a 90.4, I'll round it down to a 90. Okay? And it's a non-negotiable. You can't come back at me and say, well, I really need such and such grade for my program. What you need is on you. Okay, so if you need a specific grade for some particular reason, you need to earn that. Don't come to me and ask me to change your grade. The final grade is going to be non-negotiable based on what you've earned in the class. Incomplete and late assignments, you got to keep up. And if you want to turn in something late, for a particular reason, it better be a good reason, and you're better off if you get a hold of me ahead of time to tell me what's coming. I'll do my best to be flexible with you, but you've got to take responsibility for these due dates. Academic honesty, you got to stay on top of that. No screwing around with your integrity. Accommodations, talk to the DRC if you need any accommodations. Attendance participation, you got to show up, particularly for those synchronous classes. Spiritual care, there's a lot of opportunities around our campus for spiritual care, and I just want you to know I'm available for you as well if you just want to talk. I know in the sciences especially it can get difficult to see how the sciences can be resolved or reconciled with your faith, and I'd be happy to talk about any issues you want spiritually. I'm available for you. Lots of technology, assignments at a glance. Let's take a look at these. The details are in the Canvas modules, but you can see in week 1 we're going to start with some basic chemistry, which is going to be a review that's on you. There's some videos, some reading, etc., and then a chem quiz at the end of the first week. And then we're going to get into cell structures and function. And we're going to start with the eukaryotic cells to review, because humans are eukaryotes, and some pathogens are eukaryotes. And then we're going to move into the prokaryotes, especially the bacteria, as opposed to the archaea that, as far as we know, don't cause disease in humans. Then week 2, we'll continue with cell structures and functions, move into some pathogenic gram-positive bacteria. That term gram-positive will make sense by the time we get there. And then we're going to get into microbial metabolism, really focusing on what's called central metabolism, which is cell respiration and fermentation. And it turns out bacteria do it the exact same way you and I do. So it'll be a great review if you've had any of that in the past. At the end of week 3, you'll be turning in your first case study. It's a UTI. Week 4, we'll continue with our central metabolism, and at the end of week 4, you're going to take an exam using honor lock during our class time on Friday. Okay, it's actually scheduled during our class time on Friday. We'll move into nutrition and growth after that exam, so how do bacteria survive? Microbial genetics, particularly as they apply to antibiotic resistance. That's the most important feature of genetics in this course, and then we'll get into antibiotics and resistance to those antibiotics. We'll do another case study, respiratory tract infection. Spend a little time introducing you to the viruses. 2 weeks is really about all the time we're going to have to talk about viruses in general. And then this section here from chapter 25 is really focused on influenza viruses. And remember, in most of these chapters, you're not reading the whole thing. It's selections from them, and you need to go back to Canvas and find the reading guide that shows you exactly what you need to read. So if you studied all of chapter 25, it would be a lot of work. We're going to have you pull out the sections on influenza and study those sections. So make sure you're following those reading guides very carefully. Then we'll take the second exam on October 16th. We'll move into the process of infection. How do bacteria get in? How do they cause disease? How do they avoid our immune system? How do they get out and spread to other people? And then we'll look at the immune system, both innate immunity, which is very non-specific, and then adaptive immunity that's highly specific to particular pathogens. And related to adaptive immunity, the idea of vaccines or immunizations, which is really just tricking the adaptive system into thinking that it's seen a pathogen before. We'll start wrapping things up at that point by talking about the pathogenic gram-negative bacilli. It's a mouthful, but it's all going to make sense by the time we get there. These are essentially E. coli and closely related pathogens to E. coli, like Salmonella and some others. You'll take your third exam, and then in the week before finals, we're going to call it Gut Week, and we're going to work through the Follow Your Gut book on the gut microbiome, and we're going to do a case study on the gastrointestinal tract. And then during Thanksgiving break, technically we're supposed to meet on that Monday, so we'll have a review session available for you on Monday, and then Monday of finals week, you're going to take your final exam. So keep in mind that Mondays will be the optional live office hours, Wednesdays will be the required live class time, and Friday's going to vary from one day to the next. So there you go. You've worked your way through our syllabus. If you have any questions at all, reach out to me. Look forward to seeing you guys soon.